Hey, what's up guys? How's it going? It's Dakota Fishman here, and today I have got you guys another rally target. This time we're gonna clear them out of a little over a couple billion resources, and he's a fairly easy target, so we're gonna go ahead and kind of give it a go. Take a moment to hit the like button if you would please, guys, and of course we'll return back to the show. The point is, I'm going to go ahead and show you. So, like, you know, when we rallied him the first time, alright, we basically threw cavalry at him to get rid of his infantry. So, like, here you can see, you know. So, of course, you know, one of the things that I'm sure you probably want to know is kind of like, how do you go about actually knowing whether or not you can rally somebody? And really, to be honest with you, depending on the target and depending on how big he is, right? If he's like 4 million plus troops, that's usually about the default line I think a lot of people set up for. Now, you've seen me solo somebody with 3.8 million, so it's not impossible to solo somebody that big. It's just that it tends to be more preferred to just rally it. Now, of course, you know, like I was telling you guys before in the past couple of videos, but I do it in this video too, because again, if you want to know how to just rally somebody, you just want to send some tier 3 siege, tier 2 siege, tier 1 siege, doesn't really matter. Basically, you want to use disposable troops, alright? And you want to whack them first, and then scout them. And this only really applies to the people that don't have an anti-scout. Now, of course, in this particular case, you know, once you know what you see, you're going to see variations of, like, you know, you might get infantry, cavalry, range. Those are the 3 default: range, phalanx, phalanx, and so forth. But when you start seeing 2 types, right, so if you hit them and then you get 2 types, chances are that's a wedge. And determining what wedge is going to be based simply on, you know, if there's more of one unit type, chances are that's the type of wedge of that, you know, of that troop type. And then the second type is the one that came beside it. And so, anyway, the point is, alright, is whenever you're trying to rally a target, that's pretty much what you want to do, is basically counter that phalanx or wedge based on whatever troop type it is. Now, once you've cleaned it out, you can always go back, hit your phalanxes, and you can see that the second type behind the front line is whatever type you've got to rally or counter next. And then the same can apply for the very last line, but usually you can solo that out, or if you need to, you can always rally it out with that one troop type to counter it. Now, something else that I didn't mention is that I eventually did, towards the latter end of this video, again, lots of other stuff going on aside from just this rally, is that I eventually wanted to go out and I actually hit some Wonder War targets. But yeah, so like here we're going to go ahead and we want to make use of the 4-troop manipulation. In case you guys do not know what the 4-troop manipulation is, all I'm doing, okay, is I'm taking the front line of whatever I want to counter him with and I'm putting it in the back. So basically you want to pay attention to where your 4 troops are. Okay, and you want to make sure that the 4 troops are your front line, your side line, and then your back line needs to be your main troop, or whatever troop type that you're going to counter his actual front line is. That's really it. That's all there is to it. Now, of course, the target that we found here is, so again, we cleaned D3 out of all of his resources. Again, he had like a couple billion resources or so once we got done with that, I still have it. But the guy that we're going to go up against here is Spicy Bunny. Now, this is the alternate account of one of the Billiamite players in the kingdom. And basically, just like before, you know, it's more or less, I like to do it on about 2-ish million in total troops. I don't like doing this so much on anybody past 3 mil. I've done it, but I don't like it. Like, if I'm going to recommend doing this, really don't try doing this on people that are like 4 or 5 million troops. Unless you just like losing your leader, you know, like that's really the only thing I can say about that. Of course, I've been kind of curious, you know, are you guys interested in knowing anything about, like, you know, if... I know that for a while, like, I've been kind of doing garrison traps, I've done rally traps, I've done solo traps, I've even gone away with, you know, now maybe potentially going after people with rallies, but something I was just curious about was, you know, and again, you can let me know in the comment section below, but is really, what do you guys want to know? Like, I don't know how much more of this that I can do aside from, like, tell you a little bit here and there about what I've done or how I've done to avoid reds. And I'm still learning along the way, so this is by no means something that I've done a lot of, but, like, here in a bit, we'll hopefully be able to do the wonders and stuff like that. I'm still working on the wonder research, so I'm still building up my basically my coalition size, and of course I will probably try and see if I can get the actual add-ons so that you can go ahead and get like your pack lead and stuff like that. I'd love to look and see what the differences are, because again, I know some of you guys are maybe a little curious like I am, but like, how much of a benefit are you going to get from those sigils? Like, some of that stuff I'm not really so sure about. I'm really still kind of curious how much of a difference that's going to make. Obviously, the people that are running like a 4K, like 2 11K hero or even 3 11K hero, gold champ, mythic champ, that stuff I'm never going to be able to compete with to a certain extent, because, I mean, to distill this into one sentence is to say that it's near impossible to go up against somebody that has spent literally $100,000 in this game. It is just not possible. So wherever I decide to go, as far as kingdoms go, I'm not really sure where it's going to be yet, but I'm hoping I don't end up getting myself zeroed out, or vice versa. And I say this because, something that is really common to happen is you get rallied out when you're not waking up in the middle of it, or you're too late, and this has happened to Stow Trap not too long ago, but it's happened to me, it's like happened to me at least 2 or 3 times, so you really need to be careful, especially if you're, going out rallying people, soloing people, if you're trapping, this is a common theme in this game. You absolutely do not want to be that guy that gets caught offline for whatever reason. If it's your phone updating, if it's, something as simple as even being away at, a family event or something. It doesn't take a lot for this game to come back and bite you in ways that you would have never expected. And so for that reason, let me know in the comment section below. What's the worst possible way you've ever been zeroed in your time playing the game? I'd love to know how long you've been playing the game, because again, I'm sure some of you guys are some vets in here. You've probably had a fair share of how do you say, tragic death stories, because I would say the most I've lost in a single account getting zeroed, I had somewhere around 30 million troops. And overnight, I was not awake, and basically, I got completely zeroed out by, I think it was, at the time, so it was the ruling guild of, I think it was Kingdom, 129. And at the time, we were up against the ruling guild, and we were trying to rally and solo out their banks, right? And all that ended up happening is I basically got a little carried away and went after one target and another target, and I had like a couple billion resources on me. Now, mind you, this is back when I was partially allied to Sneaky Tashi, a little bit. I was actually, at the time, I was trying to run resources from one of these banks that I was stealing resources from, and I was funneling it back to guilds like FNA, which was at the time the guild the Sneaky Tashi was in before he really kind of got started into INS, and how they all basically went over that way. And a lot of the same people in FNA now are like in a lot of different guilds. The whole story is another story for another time, but the main thing is, right, is that I ended up getting zero, and that's my war story. I don't know if you guys have any war stories, but I'd love to hear them in the comment section because, well, I'm sure we all have our fair share of, like, complete disaster stories, and I'm sure there's some out there, like, in some of the major war kingdoms right now, like in Kingdom 537, for example, where I'm sure people are just going back and forth with it, and it's probably not so pretty, I've heard about the Mythic Champ players that are a billion might getting zeroed out, and man, those have gotta hurt, am I right? Like, it's not something you want to wake up to. Now, of course, if you want to go ahead and hit the wonders like I'm doing, alright? Now, fortunately for me, I was pretty lucky in knowing what troop type they were, so I would check their gear, is what I would do. The very first thing you want to do whenever you're hitting a wonder, for that matter, right? And this is the real problem with hitting wonders, is that you got to be very, very careful that you don't hit it when they try to speed up troops in there, because there's a 50-50 shot that you might end up getting hit and countered and vice versa. Now, because I was able to speed these up, that made it a lot easier. But something that does happen from time to time, right, is that you have to kind of guess what kind of lineup they're in. Now, in this case, I happen to hit them in infantry phalanx, so it wasn't such a big deal. But for like every target you're going to see me hit through here, I mean, the main thing that you want to be careful about whenever you're going to go after any of these forts, and especially if you're going fort rallying or anything like that, you want to make sure you know who you're hitting. Because chances are, if you're hitting somebody that's been playing the game for a while and knows what you're trying to do, you're going to get hurt. So do this with caution, is all I say. But feel free to enjoy this complete slaughter that I ended up pulling off. Eventually, they did find a way to stop me, though. But yeah.